In this latest episode of the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, we're thrilled to have with us Jeremy Whalen as our guest. Jeremy is from the Roxbury Fish Culture Station, and he'll share his expertise on how Vermont Fish and Wildlife Hatcheries raise and stock fish in local waters. And we'll talk everything from rearing lake trout to brook trout to the fall fishing stocking programs and how that makes Vermont a premier destination for anglers. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a beautiful ride down here today.
Yeah.
To see some nice fall foliage as it came down 302. So great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And so you've been in the department since 2000.
Yeah, so about 24 years now, a Fish and Wildlife member at the Roxbury Hatchery, and now
All right. And so I know you showed up. We're here with lots of notes. We got lots of questions for you.
Absolutely.
And so I know, like, first of all, kind of explain to everybody kind of like the process behind rearing trophy trout, and why is that important for anglers?
Yeah, so the process between rearing trophy trout starts a long time. You know, it takes a long time to get to a trophy trout. It's a 2-year-old fish to start with. We do brook trout, rainbow trout, and brown trout as our trophy program right now. Right now we're doing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25,000 of those fish annually throughout waters in the state of Vermont. The planning for that actually starts years ahead of time. As you can imagine, 2 years to grow those fish. You have to plan the egg take at our broodstock facility in Salisbury. It takes a few years to get those broodstock up to size to produce the eggs, anywhere from 2 to 4 years. So planning for these fish really starts almost 5 to 8 years out.
Wow.
As far as to get to the actual stocking time, as far as numbers required for your broodstock station up through. The benefits to the anglers of the state of Vermont and non-residents is it's an opportunity to go out and catch larger fish. Who doesn't love larger fish? It's been a hugely popular program. We started it back in the mid-2000s on the Winooski River in the Lamoille with rainbow trout, and it's just been wildly popular. I mean, it's one of the most popular programs we have. We get numerous calls from out of state all spring long, wondering when we're going to stock certain stretches of different rivers. We do the Springfield, the Black River and the Springfield. We have the Lamoille, we have the Otter, Deerfield with brook trout, which is a really new one that's been getting a lot of attention. So it's been a wildly popular program for us, and it was kind of modeled off a Pennsylvania program that they started in the 90s. And we tried it, and it's been hugely successful, and we keep kind of bumping it up every year.
Okay. And as I said, we're talking to Jeremy Whalen, who is the hatchery supervisor over at the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. And Jeremy, this is the perfect time of year to go fishing, because this is when they're their biggest. It's in the fall.
Yeah, not only are they biggest, but the water's cooling down. You've got the water cooling off, the fishing's turning back on. The fish in the summertime, trout species tend to kind of shut down in the summer when the waters are getting warmer. So really that angling opportunities, they're increasing right now throughout the state in all sorts of different bodies of water. It's a beautiful time of year to be out in Vermont as the colors change. Not only are the trout turning on, but the angling pressure is also dropping off as a lot of anglers, hunters, and trappers and other angling community members kind of shift their gears towards hunting season, which bow season opened a couple days ago.
Right.
There isn't a lot of anglers out there, so you have the water to yourself largely throughout the state. So it's a great time to get out there if you just specifically like to target fish and and that's what you like. There's tons of opportunity. You have the water to yourself. And the fish that have held over from our stocking programs from the spring have gotten a little larger throughout the year. They're starting to turn on. You take a brook trout right now, they're getting close to their spawning colors. They're really beautiful right now. Most of those fish are turning on their fall spawn colors, and it's just a great time to be out in the Vermont outdoors.
Right. And so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to take a quick break, and once we get back, we're going to talk more with Jeremy Whalen, who is the hatchery supervisor for the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. We're going to ask some questions about what kind of fish do you like too, Jeremy? So,
all right.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
This is Bob McGee from Wild Vermont Customs. From mud to snow, water to road, power to pedal, our custom fabrication shop can make it look great. With paint, hydro dip, powder coat, media blast in your restoration project, metal artwork, or your hunting trophies. Come see what we can do for you. Gabe, what can we do for the hunting trophies?
We can dip Euro skulls, make custom plaques or mounts.
Wild Vermont Customs, East Redgate, Vermont. On the web at wildvt.com.
Check out our Facebook page for pictures.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family owned and building relationships since 1954.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles, ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
At Red Clover Bikes in Fairleigh, Vermont, we know that a bike is more than just a ride. It's an extension of who you are. With financing available on top-tier Trek bicycles, e-bikes, and a team that's all about making biking accessible and fun, we help you make the most of the roads and the trails that make this little spot of heaven special. Whether you're looking to enhance your bike's performance or need expert advice on the latest cycling gear, we've got you covered. So come visit us in Fairleigh at Red Clover Bikes, where your adventure begins.
Welcome back to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge. With us today, we're talking to Jeremy Whalen, who is the hatchery supervisor at the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. And before we went to the commercial, we were talking about how this is the perfect time of year to go fishing. This is when the fish are at their biggest. And so Jeremy, I'm really curious. You know, first of all, it's amazing that your last name has an aquatic name to it. Whalen, so there you go. Good country music name too. So
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah. And so what do you have? What's your favorite fish?
I really love brook trout.
Oh,
You
do
know,
you?
I do. Growing them at the hatchery that I'm at, watching them color up this time of year, especially our 2-year-olds in our tanks outside, watching them really get on that fall color. Man, they're really beautiful fish. I love watching them every day and just watching them change and get more colorful. So yeah,
Right.
brook trout by far are my favorite fish.
And so is it one because working at the hatchery, do you guys like an employee discount? Do you get to take some fish home, or how does that work?
No, unfortunately, no. But you kind of look at that many all day long, and it's kind of you see enough trout throughout the day. So love to get out more trolling and things like that on big waters.
Right.
Grew up in northern Vermont, fishing Lake Champlain quite a bit as a kid, and kind of enjoy being out on a boat. So
Right.
That's more my forte is trolling. So
Okay.
Yep.
And you also have and so my other question too is like we mentioned before is that you have the northern, central, and southern aspects of the state kind of cater to different species of trout.
Well, no, our species are distributed. Our state's hatchery system has 5 facilities. We're all geared differently towards different kind of specialties. We do brook trout, rainbow trout, brown trout, steelhead, salmon, lake trout, and walleye are the species that we're growing to stock in the state of Vermont. We're distributed throughout the state. We have our largest inland producer down in Bennington. We have Roxbury, which does brook trout and rainbow trout. We have our broodstock facility over in Salisbury on Lake Dunmore, which specifically has all the brood fish of most of those species, minus the walleye. that provide the eggs to all of our facilities.
Okay.
And we all have our own. It's based on each facility's unique characteristics, our water quality coming in, our locations, but largely most of our facilities service most of the state. We stock fish down in southern Vermont near Bennington, and Bennington comes way up to northern Vermont, and it's just kind of logistically how it works out. Bennington can do brown trout where Roxbury doesn't do brown trout because of our water temperatures. So we distribute fish throughout the state from all the facilities. Ed Weed is Lake Champlain only. They do a lot of restoration work on our Lake Champlain as far as stocking salmon, walleye, lake trout, steelhead. And then we have our Bald Hill facility that does inland walleye program and brown trout, rainbows, and some of the trophy fish for the Passumpsic and other waters up in the Northeast Kingdom.
And so you said earlier there's 5 state facilities that are that have had hatcheries, and then there's 2 federal ones.
Yeah, there's 2 federal hatcheries in the state of Vermont too. Our White River National Hatchery and our Pittsford, which is Dwight D. Eisenhower National Hatchery. They both have roles within our fisheries management. We work well with our federal partners, raising some brook trout for the Rutland area out of Dwight D. Eisenhower, some salmon for Winooski program, some lake trout for our inland stuff. So we work well with our federal partners. They help us out, and we help them out with other programs as well.
Right. And so the question would be like, so the purpose of the hatchery is because the fish can't reproduce themselves?
Correct. It's not that they can't reproduce themselves. We're stocking water, and stocking is occurring in waters where natural reproduction is limited, but the fishing effort and public access is good. Basically meaning, some of these waters are great trout habitat in the springtime. They're cool, they're deep, and then as the summer goes on, they get really warm, and then it becomes marginal. There is some waters that we stock where obviously for fall opportunities where there's some holdover, but we're really trying to look at, waters that are kind of impaired from like dam structures, that aren't useful anymore, nutrient habitat, things like that. So really trying to, in waters that don't hold, yeah. All
right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk more with Jeremy Whalen, who is the hatchery supervisor at the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. And also coming up later, we have the Outdoor Edge Hunters Weekend Forecast. That's brought to you by the very own Mark Breen of the Fairbanks Museum. So tune in for that.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
Hi, this is Jay Davis, co-founder of NortheastKingdomOnline.com. As Northern New England's leading digital marketing agency, we will help your business harness the power of SEO, social media, and beyond to enhance your online presence. Your customers are looking for you. Work with our team of marketers to build a complete online marketing strategy. Visit NortheastKingdomOnline.com to see how we can heighten your brand. Achieve more with NortheastKingdomOnline.com.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family-owned and building relationships since 1954.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, Do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles, ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
And we are back. This is the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, and we are talking to Jeremy Whalen, who is the hatchery supervisor at the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. So we were talking before during the break that there's some really good information here about fish culture in general, the economic impact that the fish culture has here in Vermont.
Yeah, absolutely. Fish culture has a huge economic impact in the state of Vermont, and fisheries management in general. We're in the fisheries division. We're broken out into two sections: fisheries management, fish culture section. Within the larger division, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife does an economic impact study, and from that, about $200 million are brought into the state of Vermont through tourism, license sales, gas tax, rooms and meals, and things like that, just for fishing in general. That covers everything: bass fishing on Champlain, lake trout fishing on Champlain, inland fishing, all of that. So it's a huge economic benefit to the state of Vermont for our fisheries management team to manage these fisheries, not only for, wild, reproductive native species, but also the recreational aspect of it. From the fish culture perspective, we bring in somewhere around the neighborhood of $33 to $35 million worth of economic impact to the state of Vermont, just from our fish culture program. And really based on our budget and what it costs to run all our facilities together, that really boils down to an economic return of 23 to 1. So every dollar that the state of Vermont invests in our fish culture system, Vermont gets $23 back in economic impact to mom and pop stores, rooms and meals, gas. So fish culture and our fisheries division together, provide a really positive economic impact to the state of Vermont. So, these programs have value to them. They're really important, not only to the angling opportunities that it brings. I mean, like I was saying earlier, the 2-year-old program, it's huge. It brings in our person who handles distribution. He gets phone calls constantly from people in New Jersey, Rhode Island, out of state. These guys call every year. Hey, when are you stocking the Deerfield? Hey, when are you stocking the Black River? And these are got people that are coming up annually every year. They want to come up. They're spending money here in the state of Vermont. They're spending rooms and getting hotel rooms. They're buying food. They're getting gas. So the value to our program is huge. The value that it brings to the state of Vermont, not only the anglers of the Vermont, but the constituents of Vermont is, big, and it's important. So we really like to see that impact, and we continue to try to grow that. We manage it on both sides, not only fish culture, but like I said earlier, the fisheries division in general has a huge impact on our economic driver for the state of Vermont.
Right. Well, it's amazing too, because you think about it. There's an ecology aspect to the work you do, but there's also a tourism aspect to the work you do. And do you see that there's a way with the fisheries, are anglers looking like a diagram? How much overlap do you see hunters and anglers? How many people do you see that are just purely anglers as compared to that are anglers and hunters?
That's a great question. I guess, that would be a deeper dive within our licensing division of, taking out and extrapolating the data of combination licenses versus, individual resident fishing licenses, hunting licenses. That data I'm not really too sure on, given that it's not really, it's in a different division. They do a lot of licensing. We get licensed data information emailed to us, but it's nothing I've looked at really closely to speak too closely about. But, a lot of people do like to get out in the fall. There's a lot of different opportunities, both, archery season just starting up, the fall foliage coming in, water's cooling down. So there is a lot of sportsmen opportunities out there right now
Right.
for all sorts of anybody, and fishing's a great way to get out with your family, take your kids out fishing. This time of year is a really great time to, get out, enjoy the weather, enjoy the fall foliage, and, take the family out and go fishing.
Right. I mean, and as I said, this is like the perfect time of year to go fishing in the fall. And do you see, anecdotally speaking, do you see a lot of new generations of people getting into fishing?
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's also hard as we've gotten into a new age. License sales continue to, fluctuate. We saw a really big boom in license sales, obviously, during COVID because people wanted to get out. Our hatchery sections were deemed essential. We were still putting fish out during COVID. We were coming in and we were growing fish. We were getting them out there so people could practice social distancing and get outside. So I think that gave us a little bit of a boom of, COVID helped expose a lot of people, pardon the exposure piece, but, to fishing, because, that was something we could still do. People could get out, and we saw a really big boom and increase in our license sales during that period. And they've kind of flattened off now as, we're kind of moving out of that COVID time frame. And, but they're still staying relatively, I would say slightly above what we were previous to the COVID era.
Okay. And so, for instance, if someone wants to kind of get into fishing, like started getting into fishing for the first time and wanting to learn more about it, is this a good time of year to start, or would you recommend maybe start in the spring? Or?
Man, anytime's a good time to start. Anytime's a good start. We love to hear, people getting, new people, new anglers, getting new, interactions.
Right.
Any time of year is a good time of year. Pick up a pole and go. There's any time of year, it really depends on what you're going for. I mean, this time of year, waters are cooling down, trout are turning back on in the summertime. You've got bass that are all over the place in many different waters. You've got panfish. One of the best things, if you're interested out there and you're a new angler and you really want to learn more, follow us on VermontFishAndWildlife.com or Vermont Fish and Wildlife, our Facebook page. We have a really good team that puts out updated information as far as what you can look for this time of year. There's numerous posts as you go back. You can scroll back through and see, hey, what are we looking for? Here's angling opportunities for this specific time of year, and here's kind of some pointers on what to do. So there, any time of year is a good time to get in. Ice fishing, if you like to be out on hard water in the cold, I mean, it can be a ton of fun. Walleye season, early spring when trout are coming out, summertime when things are warm, this time of year when it's cooling down, anytime's a good time to get out.
Right. And then there's no, for fishing, is there any time when you can't fish?
Yeah, I mean, legally by our law books, and I would suggest getting a law book and just looking at our general table for any of the, the rules and regulations per species breakdown. There's a lot of different rules and things like that. So trout season, does close in a lot of waters later this month, but we also just recently, and we'll talk about it in the upcoming segment, opened up a lot of waters for winter trout season. So we've expanded the open water list quite a bit over the last few years, and we've got some really exciting stuff to talk about along those lines.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna take another quick break, and when we get back, we're gonna be talking to Jeremy Whalen about where some of those good places are for that you've been stocking.
Yeah.
And also coming up later, we have the Outdoor Edge Hunters Weekend Forecast. That's brought to you by the very own Mark Breen of the Fairbanks Museum. So tune in for that.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
Gateway Sports in downtown Wells River has you covered for all of those items that you need most for a successful hunt this fall. The store is fully stocked with an excellent selection of new and used long guns, handguns, muzzleloaders, shotguns, scopes, slings, swivels, ammunition, and accessories. They'll even offer some helpful advice. Stop in soon. Gateway Sports always has items that you might be interested in. Stop in and track down what you need for the Vermont and New Hampshire hunting season at Gateway Sports, Wells River.
At Red Clover Bikes in Fairleigh, Vermont, We know that a bike is more than just a ride. It's an extension of who you are. With financing available on top-tier Trek bicycles, e-bikes, and a team that's all about making biking accessible and fun, we help you make the most of the roads and the trails that make this little spot of heaven special. Whether you're looking to enhance your bike's performance or need expert advice on the latest cycling gear, we've got you covered. So come visit us in Fairleigh at Red Clover Bikes, where your adventure begins.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
All right, we are back. This is the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, and we have with us Jeremy Whalen, who is the hatchery supervisor at the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. And before we left for break, Jeremy was talking about that he has some new fall stocking programs that you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really exciting opportunity that we're starting to investigate. So this year we'll be stocking a few different waters throughout the state, well, mostly southern Vermont, with rainbows and brook trout to create opportunities for late fall fishing. The program aims to expand and improve angling opportunities in waters that were historically closed during winter season, winter fishing. We just opened a lot of those waters, and if you look in the Law Digest, you can see what waters those were.
Okay.
So we have 4 waters that we're doing a test run on here over the next couple years. Our biologists will be working closely with us on collecting data over the next 2 years to evaluate the success of this program. They are Lake Perrin, Lake Shaftesbury, and Knapp ponds.
Okay.
They're all in Springfield, Woodstock area for the most part, Bennington, down in that District 1, what we call our Springfield District Office. So we'll be stocking rainbows and brook trout in most of those ponds. These are advanced yearlings, so what we're stocking aren't the yearlings that we put in, but we hold over a bunch of fish for our 2-year-old program, and they're kind of the fish that are in between. So these fish are looking to go out. Our brook trout that we'll be putting out in the next couple weeks will be about 12 to 14 inches. The rainbows, I got to imagine, that are coming in from some of our other facilities are going to be pushing 15 plus inches. And like I said, we're really looking to create some angling opportunities in the winter to some of these waters that we just opened up for year-round trout fishing. Our biologists are going to be out doing creel surveys on these to, evaluate its popularity. And, hopefully it's a successful program and we can expand upon that across the entire state if it, seems to do well and we get a good angler response from it. We've worked closely with our biologists to kind of put this together as we've planned this, and as far as the planning for the waters that we want to do the test waters on. These waters we picked because historically they have good year-round angling pressure, so we feel like that will expand out into a late fall. So we want to make sure we're putting these fish initially in waters where we can collect that data and really get a good idea of, is this going to work? So that's why those waters were specifically chosen. And then as fish culture, we really worked hard to make sure that we have those fish available for those waters. Most of those waters will start to get stocked in the week of October 21st. So a couple weeks out here, we're getting really close, getting really excited about it. And we'll see how it goes.
Okay, perfect. And also, where do you see, I guess my other question for you is, what are some of the biggest environmental challenges that you guys face at operating a hatchery today?
Environmental challenges, I mean, they're internally or within the state. It's a lot of it's really hard. So you've really got to go back in a long time for this subject. Roxbury was built in 1891.
Wow.
So it's over 130 years old, which is really awesome. And it's also back in 1891, in the early 1850s. It's really interesting. I was just at Marsh Billing Museum, where Billings and all those, Marsh, George Perkin Marsh and all there, they have a really interesting quote there from the 1850s. There was 1850s, fishing was a major economic driver, almost like it is today.
Okay.
And due to deforestation, sedimentation, runoff, during that time, there was a notice of a decline in the brook trout population. George Perkin Marsh was given the task from the Vermont. He was actually listed as the first Vermont commissioner, like fish commission, and his job was to investigate why and what to do about it. That led to Roxbury being built in 1891 as a response to increased sedimentation, thermal increases to streams because there was no forest. Ironically, today we're battling some of those same battles. It's still, runoff from heavy floods, climate change, severe flooding every few years, loss of habitat. I mean, looking at sections of the Wells River on my way here this morning, you can see where it's just been damaged and it's a boulder field, and that classic trout habitat isn't there anymore. We're really battling. It's amazing that almost 100 plus years later, 130 years later after Roxbury was built, we're still fighting some of those same issues,
right.
Sedimentation, lower, less habitat for brook trout to spawn in. Historically, brook trout was the big species as being native to Vermont. So historically and in now, those are still some of the big challenges. Dams, fish not being able to move freely like they did historically, like I said, deforestation originally, but now you have heavy sedimentation from road runoff, heavy flooding from climate change, things like that. So the problem's been here for a long time. And,
right.
Those are still problems that we're still experiencing today,
right.
Unfortunately.
And so what do you see? Because you've been doing this for over 20 years, as we said, since 2000. But you've been in there since the 90s. You've been working with Vermont Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, I started in the mid-90s doing lamprey research on Lake Champlain with our Essex office. So, yeah.
So where have you seen, with your experience, what are some of the more technological innovations that you've seen happen that you've been really excited about?
I think a lot of the stuff, that technical innovations, we're doing a lot more out to remove dams that aren't viable anymore. So there's been a lot of that lately, a lot of habitat restoration. Our biologists are doing a great job out in doing what we're calling woody debris stuff to create habitat and to hold floodwaters and things like that. From a hatchery standpoint, as the evolution has gone from, our internal processes have been modernized quite a bit as far as, using a lot of research technology, using a lot of technology to lower our carbon footprint. All our facilities are on solar power. So we have solar power at Salisbury, and they offset power at Bennington and Salisbury. Edweed has its own solar unit. Bald Hill has its own solar unit. We've really dove into using what we call VFD, variable frequency drive. So instead of having to run a pump at 100% and throttle a valve, we can actually turn down the horsepower on a pump and really lower our energy consumption. So from a culture standpoint, internally, it's a lot of like reducing our carbon footprint, reducing how much power dependence we have, trying to lower how much propane we need to burn. So, we do what we call light housing over at our Salisbury facility, where they're actually photo manipulating some of our species with brook trout and browns to give us those eggs earlier in the year. So while our facilities have warmer water, so we can grow those without having to heat the water. So really a lot of those stuff is really exciting as far as what we're doing internally to lessen our carbon footprint and produce the fish to still go out in the state. And then also from our biologist standpoint, seeing some of the, dams that aren't necessary anymore, working to get those out, seeing some of the, woody debris stuff that they're doing up in the Northeast Kingdom and, other districts throughout Vermont and trying to restore habitat. So, I think as a division, we're all doing what we can to, really make those improvements both internally and externally.
Okay. We're going to take another quick break, and when we get back, we will also have coming up the Mark Breen's Hunters Weekend forecast, and we will also wrap up our conversation with Jeremy Whalen, and we're going to ask him some questions about what anglers can expect in the next couple of weeks.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
This is Bob McGee from Wild Vermont Customs. From mud to snow, water to road, powered or pedaled, our custom fabrication shop can make it look great. With paint, hydro dip, powder coat, media blast in your restoration project, metal artwork, or your hunting trophies. Come see what we can do for you. Gabe, what can we do for the hunting trophies?
We can dip Euro skulls, make custom plaques or mounts.
Wild Vermont Customs, East Redgate, Vermont. On the web at wildvt.com.
Check out our Facebook page for pictures.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family owned and building relationships since 1954.
All right, and we are back. This is the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, and we are talking to Jeremy Whalen, who is a hatchery supervisor at the Roxbury Fish Culture Station. And Jeremy, you have some fishing opportunities and updates you wanted to share for us.
Yeah, absolutely. With the onset of autumn and cooler temperatures, now's the time of year for some of the best fishing in Vermont. Fish are more active, and there are typically less anglers on the water, so it's a really great time to get out, enjoy the fall foliage, and just target some species. So we're going to run down through some different areas and some different species opportunities. We'll start up in northern Vermont here and kind of work through central and southern Vermont. But up in northern Vermont, you have smallmouth back on Lake Champlain, on rocky points and shorelines with scattered vegetation and anywhere from 2 to 15 feet of water. Brook trout, Job's Pond, is home to some of the largest brook trout in Vermont and can be caught by casting or trolling or streamers or flies in less than 10 feet of water right now. Brook trout are really starting to come in.
Wow, nice.
So you should also note that with Job's Pond, there is some special regs. So check sizes and make sure you look at the Law Digest before you go out. Rainbows and browns, Passumpsic River, browns and rainbows with spoons, spinners. Look for deep, slow pools that can produce, be productive. The Passumpsic is also home to some of our trophy program fish, including our stock trout. So you could really have the opportunity to catch some big trout, whether they're holdover trophies from our stocking program this spring or, some wild fish in other parts of the river. But you can really get out there and get after them in the Passumpsic. Landlocked salmon up north, Clyde River hosts a fall spawn run, a landlocked salmon from Memphis Magog. There's plenty of places to go out. And any of this information is available if you go to our Facebook page and look at Vermont Fish and Wildlife on Facebook. We have plenty of posts about this stuff, so don't feel like you got to scribble it down. It's all available. We want to share. We want people to get out. We want people to fish, so we're not trying to hide any of this stuff. So kind of moving on into central Vermont area. Again, smallmouth bass in Lake Fairleigh, Morley, Hales Lake, Waterbury Reservoir, Wrightsville, Nelson Pond. Again, spinner baits, stick baits, crank baits, pretty standard stuff through those waters. Brook trout in central Vermont area. There's countless little tributaries above 1,000 foot in elevation that have healthy wild brook trout populations. I mean, any one of the little streams that runs into these feeder brooks to Wells River, you name them,
Right.
they should be loaded with little brook trout, and you should be able to find them no problem. Rainbow and brown trout in Fairleigh, Miller Pond, which is a stocked pond from our hatchery program, Peachum Pond, Nelson Pond, they're both get stockies. Rainbows and browns, slowly trolling spoons or spinners in 10 to 15 foot of water, and you should be able to be successful. Heading down south, Brooks and Browns, Battenkill River, larger tributaries, including the west and east branches, Roaring Brook, Green River. These hold up well despite the dry summers because they've got some good groundwater sources, so you can find some cool waters. Again, bass and panfish in the Connecticut River, including the setbacks, Gale Meadow Pond, Lake Raponda, Plymouth Lakes. Those are all great places too down in the southern area. As we move into October means fall salmon runs.
Oh, okay.
So,
Nice.
everybody is, excited about salmon at this time of year. So, great opportunities there. In deep lakes that were stocked with salmon, there's a lot that goes on there. So the deeper lakes that are stocked with salmon, hoping to land a salmon, check out our rivers and lakes like Clyde River, Lamoille River, Lewis Creek, Winooski. Go to our Fish and Wildlife website, look at waters that were stocked with salmon inland. Most of the salmon in Vermont today are raised in our fish hatchery program. Between dams and low egg survival caused by, other nutrient poor invasive alewives, salmon don't have good odds of reproducing in the wild.
Okay.
So our fish culture scientists are studying ways to bolster the salmon against nutrient deficiencies to make them more viable in the wild, while as I noted earlier, our fisheries biologists and river conservation groups are working to reconnect the waterways by removing outdated dams and creating fish passage. So salmon right now, they're everywhere. Check out our page. Look for some of those waters. Like I said, the Clyde, the Lamoille, Lewis Creek, Winooski, they're all starting to run up and thinking about spawning. So,
all right. Well, Jeremy, this has been some great information. It's been truly a pleasure talking to you and learning all about what's happening with Vermont Fish and Wildlife and what's happening for our anglers. So this was great. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And we'll probably have to have you guys come back on again in like the spring or something.
Yeah, we'd love to be back on the spring. Thanks for having us today. Springtime's another exciting time for the fish culture division, our section. We're getting out and we're stocking somewhere in the neighborhood of 600,000 fish. So we'd love to come in and talk with you more about where those go and, get people out and get people fishing.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to take another break, and then when we come back, we'll be having the Mark Breen Hunters Weekend Forecast.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
Your website isn't working for you. Hi, this is Jay Davis, co-founder of Northeast Kingdom Online. I'm sure you've seen us online already. We've created hundreds of websites for companies just like yours. If you're ready to stand out on the internet, it's time to join forces with Northeast Kingdom Online, Northern New England's premier website design company. From security to mobile responsiveness, we handle it all. Let's make your website as unique as your business. Visit us at northeastkingdomonline.com and let's get started. Achieve more with northeastkingdomonline.com.
Gateway Sports in downtown Wells River has you covered for all of those items that you need most for a successful hunt this fall. The store is fully stocked with an excellent selection of new and used long guns, handguns, muzzleloaders, shotguns, scopes, slings, swivels, ammunition, and accessories. They'll even offer some helpful advice. Stop in soon. Gateway Sports always has items that you might be interested in. Stop in and track down what you need for the Vermont and New Hampshire hunting season at Gateway Sports, Wells River.
At Red Clover Bikes in Fairleigh, Vermont, we know that a bike is more than just a ride. It's an extension of who you are. With financing available on top-tier Trek bicycles, e-bikes, and a team that's all about making biking accessible and fun, we help you make the most of the roads and the trails that make this little spot of heaven special. Whether you're looking to enhance your bike's performance or need expert advice on the latest cycling gear, we've got you covered. So come visit us in Fairleigh at Red Clover Bikes, where your adventure begins.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
I'm Mark Breen with the Outdoor Edge forecast. A weak cold front helped to dry out the air, which means a clear night coming up tonight. Some areas of river valley fog, followed by lots of sun and a mild day on Friday. With archery season open, keep in mind that Friday evening will have southerly breezes, which will vary with the terrain, and a cold front will be approaching, leading to some showers Friday night into Saturday morning. Winds will shift to the north and northwest Saturday, along with clearing in the afternoon. Sunday starts foggy in the valleys, then sunshine. Once again, south winds will freshen in the afternoon. With another cold front approaching for Monday, it turns much cooler next week. Now the details of the forecast. Look for areas of dense fog tomorrow morning burning off to sun, mixed with clouds, mild 70 to 75. A good chance of showers Friday night, 50 to 55. Saturday, any showers will give way to increasing sun in the afternoon, cooler in the low to mid-60s. Saturday night, clear and cool, areas of dense fog, 40 to 45, and Sunday, the valley fog burns off to sunshine in the 60s. That's your Hunter's Edge forecast. I'm Fairbanks Museum meteorologist Mark Breen. Good luck and be safe.
Oh, it was so good to hear Mark Breen's voice on the Hunter's Edge, well, the Outdoor Edge weather forecast. And to remind everybody from earlier in the show, I did want to have some information to share with all of you. When Becky Fuda came on last month, and her being the head deer biologist in New Hampshire, she did mention about the New Hampshire Youth Deer Hunt. And so information came out. That is set for October 26th and 27th. So New Hampshire's Youth Deer Weekend, Saturday and Sunday, October 26th and 27th, is a perfect time to take a young person hunting. This special weekend gives youth age 15 and younger the opportunity to go out deer hunting with an adult mentor without the pressure of competing with thousands of other adult hunters. So an accompanying adult must be licensed hunters and are not permitted to carry a firearm. The idea is to concentrate your time and attention on coaching your young companion. Prospects for this year's youth season are excellent, according to Becky Fuda, and she talked about this with us last month as well. Deer project leader, she said New Hampshire's deer population is healthy and will provide excellent opportunities. Last year's adult buck harvest was the second highest on record, and deer numbers remain strong throughout the state. In 2023, young hunters took 249 deer during this weekend. Also, looking over in Vermont, online deer harvest reporting. So it is possible now this year for online reporting systems have been used successfully by other states. This is in Vermont. So they offer hunters a quick and easy and convenient way to report their harvest while providing wildlife biologists with data necessary for monitoring harvest trends and managing the white-tailed deer population. Hunters who prefer to report their deer in person to a check station are welcome to continue doing so. So in order to do that, if you want to submit your harvest report, you have to follow the information that's readily available, and that is at the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. So all you would need is your conservation ID, and that's in the upper left corner of your license. Your tag number. If this was a landowner tag, enter landowner into the form. That's not a big deal. And a photograph of the deer. And options, an optional to include the head area of the deer to confirm the presence of, or absence of antlers and the number of antler points, or your face in the photo to connect the harvest deer to you if the tag is not readable. Also, location of the kill, date and time of the kill, sex of the deer, deer's weight, estimated weight is acceptable, and number of legal antler points on each antler. So coming up, our next show is going to be October 17th, and we are excited to have with us Chris Sanborn from R&L Archery is going to be on here. We're going to talk about all things archery. And I want to remind everybody as well that we have a weather phone. It's 802-757-3131. It's one of the last weather phones out there. And we have an app. And also this episode will be available on demand on the next day, and you can listen to it anytime you want. So thank you so much for tuning in to The Outdoor Edge. And here we go with that lovely music again. Man, it's so nostalgic to hear this sound again, I tell you.